Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Hobby Hotline Live, show number 82. I'm your host, I guess, your pal Val from NASCAR Radio, and joining me today is Logan and Dr. Beckett. How are you guys today?
I'm doing great, Val. Thanks for being the quarterback. And thank you, Logan, too.
Yep, everything's going good. Gosh, is there really anything to talk about today? I mean, it's kind of slow, isn't it?
Yeah, I figured we'd just talk NASCAR today with everybody.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, no. We got a hobby emergency. So we need to bring all the Hobby Hotline guests on here.
Bring out the big hitters.
And we got room for more.
Let me change the little setting here for everybody. Yeah, I guess there's a little bit of news this week, gentlemen.
Yes.
Yeah, CM Punk came back to wrestling last night.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was it.
Oh, wait, there's something else?
Yeah, I heard some baseball cards. This is actually real news. I heard some baseball cards sold for $6 million.
Is that all?
That's all. I mean,
6.6 if you're.
6.6. That's, yeah, I mean,
I'll take the 0.6.
We're laughing about it, but on a normal week, this would have been the lead story of the week. It made ESPN, like Honus Wagner, the T206 Wagner is still the king. I mean, in a normal news week, this is a huge development. And it was literally began the week, and by the end of the week, it's the third. It's like yesterday's news, which is kind of sad that the most famous card in the hobby is literally nobody's even talking about that anymore.
Yeah, I don't know but with that kind of money, it kind of helps, or maybe define some of the news that we saw this week with Topps.
Yeah,
there's a lot of money in play right now.
Right, yeah, but the Wagner is a known rare card. The money in play this week is something none of us had ever imagined the hobby would be.
Yeah, Val and I were talking Monday about what kind of subjects we were going to talk about for this Saturday, and it's like, well, we were just making up a few things, talking about the Wagner, and then all this other stuff hit.
Yeah, we had some requests about talk about open wheel and NASCAR and stock car and everything else. So we're gonna shelve all that for another show. But we got another one of our Hobby Hotline guests. Oh, he's walked away anyway. But
there he is.
What's up? What's up,
Drew? Hey, Drew. We just talking about the news.
What news? There's nothing going on in the hobby. Come on.
We were talking about the Honus Wagner $6.6 million sale, and then of course Topps.
Talk about open wheel.
Yeah, I don't think nobody wants to talk about that right now. No, with this, I'm not a, everybody I think started collecting cards with Topps, so it's an iconic brand, and then, everybody knows I'm doing racing and stuff like that, but I feel for all the flagship collectors and everything else. Granted, it's a few years away, but I think this definitely sends shockwaves through the system.
Well, it definitely did. It's shocking, and we found out the Topps themselves even found out pretty much almost right when we did, a couple hours before. But I had a couple of years ago, I had the director of operations for the Major League Baseball Players Association on one of my shows, and if you listen back to that conversation and then look at the news yesterday, it's shocking where we've come in this hobby and the way that their views have even changed on all of this, because they were, Topps in Major League Baseball go back a really long time. 70 some years. Topps is synonymous with the hobby in baseball, so it's definitely quite interesting. But with the fact that Mudrick Capital decided to not take them public, it does open the door for the possibility that Fanatics could actually purchase the Topps name. So and purchase, maybe not Topps gum and all that. They could purchase the entire the entirety of the operation or possibly just the card area. That way we would still have that Topps name and maybe just a Fanatics logo on the bottom of a blaster or something. There is that possibility, but you know, with so much up in the air right now, it is scary to think that we could have a hobby with no Topps.
I think there's.
Well, we've had a. Jim, sorry, go ahead.
2026, 2027, 2028, there will be Topps cards.
Yes.
It may not be the Topps company that's, but there will be Topps cards. There'll be flagship sets for the rest of our lives. Too powerful of a brand, but as a company, that's what the statement is here. That's a licensing entity.
Yes.
Major League Baseball and Players Association think they can do better with somebody else steering the ship.
So, question for everybody is the brand loyalty. Will collectors snub Fanatics and only deal with Topps?
There's going to be some of that.
Yeah.
There's going to be some of that.
We're going to have to collect something.
I don't think so. What about Fleer? Fleer's owned by Upper Deck now. You know, the brands, Leaf. You know, they're like a caterpillar and a butterfly. So there will always be Topps cards. They just may be produced by a different company.
Yeah, and Michael Eisner won't get his $600 million payday now. Womp womp.
And let's face it, when you're offered 10x what the previous contract was, you're going to take that money.
Yep.
Period. End of sentence. That's
Rich, is the potential for 10x. I don't think it's a firm 10x. It's a joint venture, which it's pretty exciting to do a joint venture if you're Major League Baseball's and the Players Association, because you're going to share in the profits. Yeah. And so they obviously think not only will Fanatics do a better job and make more money themselves, but the players in the leagues are going to get a cut of it. And so that's
one thing I saw when they said they were going after the NFL, also the NFL and NBA licenses as well. You know, a lot of people freaked out. I kind of got excited because, like you said, Dr. Beckett, we are going to have Topps cards in some way, shape, or form in the future. But if they can secure those brands too, we could finally have some multi-sport products where everything's licensed. And for one, I think that's awesome. I think there's a lot of positives that could come out of it. I think it's just something very, very different and just out of the blue. But there's a lot of interesting things that Fanatics could do if their plan goes according to what they set out to do.
Well, one other thing too is I'm willing to wager Fanatics has a even better retail distribution model than Topps does. And when I say retail, I mean to the public, to stores, to all that. And as such, they can probably product place even better. And that's definitely a positive. And if, thinking about history, if you remember when Donruss Leaf Playoff lost their license after 2005, and there's other reasons to supposedly or not supposedly, but one of the official reasons given was that DLP may have been the best company for hobby sales, but they were the worst company at the time for putting their products into the big box stores. Well, Topps got the big box stores, but they're not as big store retail or even smaller store retail as Fanatics is. And so that's something where you can get extra distribution into extra locations and get more eyeballs looking at what you're doing.
Guys, look, can I just I want to put this in the context of the hobby. If we fast forward 5 years, it could be that Fanatics is the exclusive card licensee of all the leagues and all the players associations. They are experts in selling other people's stuff. Okay, that could mean that they have side deals with Panini, Upper Deck, and Topps to keep doing what they're doing, but underneath this umbrella brand of Fanatics. So but again, I think Topps is not in a good leverage position, or Panini even. I think Panini takes a hit here, but it looks to me like Fanatics is going to be in the driver's seat.
Hey, Val, you put up a question from that 70s card show where he asked, he heard a rumor that Topps had first right of refusal. I heard the same rumor, but it's coming out. I don't want to say officially, but literally, allegedly, Topps found out what we all found out 3 hours before we found out. And I also read that they did not even know that both the Players Association and Major League Baseball were even courting or talking to someone else about this. So that if those reports are true, they were floored, much the same as the rest of the hobby, just caught completely off guard and surprised, if that's true. And if it is true, it just goes to show you, how cutthroat the business is. It's a business. It's a money game. Whether you like that or not, that's where it's at. And so, and Michael Eisner reportedly had a not too friendly call with Rob Manfred for about 2 hours yesterday that did not go very well. So I don't know. I'd like to see Topps. Obviously, those 5 letters stay on baseball cards. I'm old and sentimental, obviously, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like they're all on the same page. That doesn't mean just because they weren't up until now that cooler heads can't prevail and something still come about it. I even going to mention on tomorrow's Hobby Quick Hits what could. And I don't know the legal ramifications of this, guys. Maybe Dr. Beckett, Rich, can Fanatics literally rent their license to Topps and say, "Hey, we'll give you a 3-year contract to produce Topps cards. We own it. It's almost like a house, right? We own the house, but you can live in it for 3 years for this price." Can we see something like that?
Well, I want to real quick give a shout out to everybody in the comments. Rex in New Buffalo, we're on the big screen. Hey, good morning, everybody there, as well as everybody in the comments. Call in and join the show. All right, back to you guys.
All right.
Nice, Val. Good.
Thanks for the sponsorship. Now it's time to go back to the.
Well, it's not only us as well, but it's everybody in the comments. So we appreciate everybody in the comments, of course, with some of these great questions, and then also, jumping on. So,
well, the interesting thing now is what happens to a company like Leaf? What does Brian Gray do now? What about Wildcard, who just started up? That seems like the wild card for all of this situation.
But if
I think they're going to get more competition, especially if Topps wants to continue to make baseball cards.
Yeah.
If they don't have a Players Association license, or if they don't have a league license, well, what are they? They're another unlicensed draft pick manufacturer like Leaf and Wildcard and Onyx.
Yeah, the Players Association part is the very, very interesting one, and that's where I'm going to be that's where I'm curious to see how Fanatics does this. And I like you, John, am very curious about what they're able to do with these licenses, what power that they have, what they can truly do, because the Players Association, that's always been the one saving grace in the hobby. If you don't have the actual league license, you can always go after that Players Association license that was always normally open to working with other people. Now, having all of that, it creates an interesting little spot in the hobby, that's for sure.
The silver lining here is that the Players Association in Major League Baseball, they're working closer together than they ever have.
Yes.
And so, and the other thing is, the reason Topps probably didn't get a right of refusal is because this is a completely different type of agreement. That Fanatics is not the licensee. They are a partner with Major League Baseball and the Players Association. They're all going to be sitting at the same table. It's going to be open book accounting. The more Fanatics makes, the more the players and the leagues are going to get. So they're going to be doing whatever is best for all of them, which might mean including Tops in some way. But they're going to have all the power.
No, 100%. One thing I do want to say is I got to coach a baseball game here in just a little bit, but I do want to say one thing that I did love about Fanatics is in this purchase and everything, the announcement of Josh Luber being the man who's in charge. At the Philly show, I had a chance to talk with Josh for about an hour, and we just talked the hobby, no business, nothing like that. We just had a fun conversation about the hobby, and I will say that the person that they've put in charge of running all of this loves the hobby so much, like I think every single person on this page, and is very, very in tune with much more than $1 million cards, all the way down to base card. I mean, the man lives and breathes the hobby, so I do commend them on putting someone in charge of running this new venture, this new area that they're going, that I truly believe will have the hobbyist at heart, 100%.
Well, look what he did with StockX. That
Exactly.
thing is in this hobby now. I mean, it's a good guy to control this.
Yes.
And from what you're telling me, I have a feeling he'll also be, let's say, media friendly. When I say media friendly, is I would not be surprised if he shows up on somebody's show that's on this panel. You know, it could be anyone. So I don't run a show, but anybody who runs a show, he could very well show up on the show, which would
very much so. He's a very open guy. He's very, like I said, his passion for the hobby runs incredibly deep, and those are the type of people that, at least if in my picture perfect world of the hobby, that's who I want in charge of these decisions, is someone that, like you said, media friendly, transparent, but has a deep, true, long love of this industry.
You know, I'm going to say something. One of the most exciting things I heard when Dr. Jim did his podcast on Friday was, switching for a second, we're talking about media friendly, that he's going to have Nat Turner on as one of his guests next week. I was personally excited to hear that because, you know, it's nice to see, you know, the head of PSA and other things also talking to the man who created the Beckett name. I mean, he didn't create the name, but created the Beckett. You know, there is Samuel Beckett. So there's actually a famous Beckett one before Jim, but it's exciting to hear that, and you know, that's a new generation of owners and managers coming in, and I think that's an exciting thing, and I think that's very exciting to have people out there of a new generation who grew up in the hobby and understand things about it.
Yeah. And to answer that, if no one's up on, to answer that question at the bottom, if they do get those licenses, I don't see any way, shape, or form that they'd go after them as a monopoly.
Probably not.
Just because of the simple fact that I don't think they're going to take all those licenses and brand everything as Fanatics. I think it's going to be, you're going to see a lot of stuff. I think they're going to use a lot of the names of these companies. Like Dr. Beckett said, 2025 is not the end of Topps cards. You're going to get them. If they get those other licenses, let's say they do the same thing with Panini. I would see them doing the exact same thing with Panini. We talked about it on this show. I know multiple people have talked about it on a lot of y'all's different shows, but this was the year that we thought we were going to see a lot of dominoes fall, a lot of consolidation in the hobby. I mean, we've talked about this left and right on countless shows, and I think this was one of the very first massive dominoes that maybe kicked over 30 or 40 more. But, you know, this is kind of what I was expecting this year.
By the way, does anybody realize the irony in all of this? That in the 1970s, and this was pointed out to me by Dr. Beckett's and my mutual friend Mike Kramer, who I was talking to on Facebook, who actually reached out to me, and so we had a nice Facebook chat, that in the 1970s, Topps was the monopoly for sports cards.
Yes.
And all of a sudden now it's going to be a different monopoly.
Right.
So it's such an interesting, ironical twist from the 60s and 70s to today. I mean, it's like, okay, same position, just, same general situation, just companies reversed 40 years later, 50 years later.
And wouldn't there need to be some type of regulation in the industry first? I mean, this is an unregulated industry, 1,000%. But
the other
regulation
thing,
from whom, though?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the licensees ideally should be the regulators.
yes,
Well, the fact that ownership is being split amongst everybody, that's a very key point. I mean, with the Players Association, with everybody coming in as owners, so to speak, everybody owns. I mean, who are you going to go after for the monopoly? I mean, it's all owned by the same people, so they just split up the stuff amongst themselves, and you're gonna. I mean, I think you're going to get the rental license, where you get a license, you get a license, you get a license, you get a license, but then we're going to have a lot of products that are going to come out that we've been begging for in the hobby.
yes.
We wanted Topps basketball. We wanted these products. Well, you asked for them. You're about to get them. So
Exactly. And they could.
I just want a 792 card top set.
Yes.
And score baseball back.
Yes.
That's all I ask.
I harken back to the actual fully licensed multi-sport releases. Could you imagine awesome releases with the top rookies of every single, from Major League Baseball, basketball, and football in 1 year in one product? I mean, you're looking at incredible opportunities here, I think.
Yeah, you could get Natalie Decker Upper Deck cards. It'd be great.
Yeah. Here's a thought. What do you think about Topps and Panini? They're sort of going to be in the same boat here. If nothing else, there's no curveball thrown here. What about them two heads getting together and say, let's combine forces here and figure this out together? I'm not saying I expect that, but
figure out what
the possibility is
you
there.
might not expect it, but I tell you what, John, I never considered that, but that is something that I would not doubt that they would be open to doing now more than ever before.
Because individually they're less powerful with the current landscape, or not current, but the future landscape. And maybe they can change that by putting there's a lot of smart people, as Dr. Jim would say, in both of those organizations. And maybe together they can say, hey, listen, we're really on the same page now, like it or not. Let's figure this out. Let's get in a room and figure this out together, where we both can be better off tomorrow than we are today.
I mean, Topps could always just include that European printing press they just bought and really hammer the deal home.
Well, they're not exactly on the same page. In the fine print of the announcement, the Players Association the Panini is going to be affected by this first. This first wave is going to be when the PA agreements, and so Panini is going to be affected by that. They're not going to have any players.
Yeah.
Their whole product is in jeopardy, unless they want to again get players, draft picks that are, or non-PA members. So they've that whole, and the specter of basketball and football being right behind on this announcement. Panini, I think, is not going to be huddling up with Topps right now. They're going to be huddling up themselves.
I do think it's interesting. I think this might have something to do with the reason you've seen so much soccer, so much UFC. I was wondering why so many new products and things were being made and being built in, and this could have something to do with it. Hey, Jeremy Lee joining us.
1, 2, 3. Hey, here comes Jeremy Lee.
Hi, guys.
Hey there.
I'm just here to try and find out what's going on. I don't know anything that's going to happen, so I want to hear what you all think.
Well, Jeremy, to plug your show, you've got a really good guest tomorrow night.
Yeah, so actually, before Jeremy does that, I've got to run to coach baseball. Leave it up to the other amazing hosts of Hobby Hotline. Thanks for letting me jump in.
Thanks for stopping
in. My little thoughts today, but
tag out.
Take it away, Jeremy.
So, Jeremy, when you had Brian Gray on, he was very prescient about all of this. He was talking about conversations going on, almost like he knew what was happening, probably because of the context he's doing. So I'm excited for you. You have Brian on, and by the way, it's a special Sunday night episode, if I remember the promo correctly.
Yeah, exactly. I figure he's someone who has a card company. He's might have some insights that none of the rest of us do. He mentioned last time he was on with me that he couldn't say some things because he had an NDA in place. So I wonder if that's if the conditions of that have changed at all, or if the restrictions on him have changed now that this announcement has come out. So, but I just, there's been so much content over the last few days regarding this. I thought, here's a guy who's going to maybe have some insights that nobody else does. And so I asked if he wanted to come on, and I can't do tonight because I have back-to-back shows already. So we're going to come on tomorrow night and hear what Brian Gray has to say about all this.
And Brian is always a must listen. I mean, and he is an occasional guest host here as well, but he is always a must listen.
Yeah. Looking forward to having him tomorrow night.
So what do we think, guys? I mean, Topps has got it for a few more years here. What do we think? Do they business as usual for the remainder here? Does this decision change their approach to how they do the next 2 to 3 years? What do we expect? I mean, it's all speculation, obviously. It's all playing armchair Topps, but what do we think? How do they finish out this contract, I guess?
Well, one thing I read was that Tony Clark, or whoever he designated from the MLBPA, was very clear in instructing the players, you honor whatever contracts you have, you cooperate with Topps, you do whatever the contract says you do. So the MLBPA was basically told, don't do anything less than you're supposed to. And if you have to do a little more during the contract, it's okay too.
So they were basically told, you do you, boo?
Yes, they were basically told, you do you, boo, okay?
I don't know if there was a boo in there, but I think some of the other words did appear. But I mean, one of them
turned on and not turned off. I mean, I fully expect that. Get ready for it.
That's the fear I've seen expressed by some people on social media, that Topps is just gonna, cash out, open up the floodgates, and get every dime they can to finish up their deal. And here's that's the thing. You have a choice. Just like you have a choice if you don't have to buy Fanatics cards when they start making them. You don't have. If you feel something's overproduced or you think it's a money grab, you don't have to partake in that transaction. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, for sure. It's going to be interesting to see if it's business as usual, or does their mindset change here with
in baseball, it should be business as usual for at least 22 and 23. Mm-hmm. Now for 24, that's when the Players Association contract expires. And the first that I think we could probably see the first Fanatics branded trading cards in 24, albeit without logos. But after for 24 and 25, I think Topps should be business as usual for at least those years. Because of their
to put that logo, that Fanatics logo on a card or on it. I mean, I'm curious to see if they do it. I mean, I can imagine on maybe a wrapper or even a box, but a card labeled Fanatics. I mean, it's just interesting. It's different.
I don't think they're going to brand this trading card venture as Fanatics, though.
Well, we don't know what we don't know. It's funny that Val and Logan are sitting here, and they have the left-hand turn license, and they don't have the license themselves, but their company's like unaffected by all this. It's like you haven't heard one word about racing. For them, it's just business as usual, and let's go at it.
I was going to say in 2023, 24, come on over to racing.
Yeah, go fast, turn left.
Well, I don't know. Whenever Val speaks, I feel like I'm in a race car. It has that sound quality, like he's giving directions.
Why
like,
was
all right? Next lap, you got to come in and get 4 new tires.
Jeremy, what were you saying?
I'm wondering, like, the NHL is untouched in all this, and I'm wondering why and what's going to happen with them and Upper Deck down the road. Is that yet to fall, or is Fanatics not interested? And of course, we don't know. And I pose this question, without expecting an answer. But one comment, that is maybe applicable to what we're going to see, not what Fanatics is going to do, rather what Panini and Topps may do. When Panini lost their NHL license after the 2013-14 hockey card season, they had a little bit of a lead time knowing it was going to happen. They did their final products and they pumped them filled with all the memorabilia that they had left, and they made what is their one National Treasures hockey product, which is kind of known as one of the better products of all time because they were able to pump it full of memorabilia. So I wonder if we'll see something similar.
And they did the same thing in 2005 after they lost their baseball license. What was then known as Donruss Playoff just kept pumping out product after product toward the end of 2005.
Right.
That was just filled with
hockey. They only had
cards.
Yeah, for hockey, they only did really a couple products towards the end. Then they did one called Anthology, where they loaded in all the big pieces of memorabilia. So, just this is a different situation. Instead of maybe a 1 year or less of lead time, here we have multiple years of lead time. 4 to 5, and in some cases it seems like. So, wondering if something like that could happen if Fanatics doesn't sub license to these companies.
One other thing about the 2005 Donruss Leaf playoff issue versus today's issue was that Ann Blake, who was owning Donruss Leaf playoff at the time, had some financial issues. And you had when you on one of your episodes when you had Brian on, Jeremy, he talked about the negotiations to buy Donruss Leaf playoff.
Yeah.
And Michael Eisner is certainly not in any financial trouble, and the owner of Panini is certainly not in any financial issues. And that's also a huge difference. They have the luxury of a cushion to reconfigure and figure it out.
I just want to make one comment about this. Is Panini has worked with Fanatics before. They've done Fanatics exclusive Prism Basketball Blasters and Contenders Football Blasters. So they've already done cards with Fanatics. I also wanted to bring up the fact that Fanatics, I'll go to card shops and they'll have signed helmets and stuff on their wall, and they look pretty awesome. There could be the potential to see a memorabilia and card product in the same box. You get one mini helmet and pack of cards too. I don't know.
Or redemption.
Well, we kind of did that like 20 years ago when you had those products that had like an autographed baseball in addition to packs, and kind of worked, kind of didn't.
I got a question for Brody. Are you ready to be the Fanatics kid? How does that sound?
I mean, it's 5 years away, so I'll be 18.
Well,
you'll be the team.
You said you're not. You said
Brody.
You said you're not rebranding, so you'll still be, Brody for Fanatics Brody.
Fanatics Brody. I like it. It's a good
Brody.
I'm trying to move. I'm trying to move in on your mom's territory. Is what I'm trying to do, Brody. But,
Brody's dream job just got swept away from under his feet.
No, Brody will now work for Fanatics. And I think Fanatics is based in the Midwest, so it's he doesn't have to move as far. So that's a good thing for Brody. Yay, Brody! You'll have a much easier commute to visit your parents.
So, Chris, you were saying that the Major League Baseball and the Players Association, there's going to be a gap between those years.
And it'll be interesting for 24 and 25 because the way Topps does player selection, because they've preceded the union, they've always had this loophole around licensing where they sign players to individual contracts as opposed to other trading card companies that have been bound to a group licensing agreement. And so for 24 and 25, how would Topps still be able to include individual players in their individual major league players in their card sets? Or are they just going to be cut off in 24? Well, and just have to make minor leagues, cards, prospects, and retired players.
Well, I think retired players, I know they got the Jeter deal. They just signed the Mickey Mantle family back. Those are 2 retired players. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I just play one for an hour on Saturdays. I gotta think those are retired players they have contracts with. I think those contracts remain. So you might see a lot of Jeter Mantle stuff. You Yankee fans are going to be excited, but yeah, I don't know. That's my guess. That's just a guess.
Yeah, John, you and I talked about what happens to the Bowman firsts, what happens to the Bowman product, what happens to prospecting, what happens to all of that entails.
What happens to it is the new license holder does their version of it, and it probably won't be called Bowman first, whatever they deem that, Fanatics first, or whatever the name they settle on. That it's they're going to be similar products, I would imagine, but just not called what we're.
But now that license holder is partially owned by the Players Association. And do you think that the Players Association is going to want a product like Bowman, which is chock full of players that aren't union members anymore?
Yeah.
So 2025 might be the end of the Bowman brand as we know it going forward.
I just think it's going to be whatever Fanatics does. That's going to be their version probably of Bowman. I got to think the Players Union, and I don't speak for them. I don't know anybody, but they got to like that their clientele is getting recognized early at 17, 18, 19 years old and becoming.
But they're not their clientele, though. They're not members of the union. You don't become a member of the Players Association until you make a 40-man roster.
Yeah, well, they're potentially future members of the union.
Potentially future members, but they're not members.
What about the college licensing now? Do you even go before that?
Yeah, that's
kind of what Panini and Topps may be forced to do if they want to stay in. We're assuming that they don't get bought out that none of these companies are being bought out by Fanatics after 2025. They may just have to settle for college licenses.
Well, there's a great comment right there. I mean, we didn't even hit that angle yet. Could Topps do a minor league? Probably like what it would be their Heritage Minors, right? Just call it Bowman. And it would still be first Bowman cards, right? Because they're minor leagues. They're guys that haven't made the big leagues yet, got their cup of coffee. So I'm sure that's on the table too. It's a great comment by the Fifth Beatle.
I mean, they own the Bowman brand, so they can still call it first Bowman and have the minor leagues.
And remember, Topps does have a minor league baseball, a contract with minor league baseball to produce cards. They are the official producer of minor league baseball cards at this point.
For now.
I don't know how long the contract lasts, but they are the official producer.
I think
so. One of the things I saw from Rex was that they buy memorabilia and licensed apparel and T-shirts and stuff, and that this gives in the Fanatics distribution channel. I think we had touched on access to a lot more shelves, and it could actually take cards to another level
Well,
for availability.
Fanatics also has 3 branded websites as well. They don't just sell under Fanatics. They sell under 2 other websites. Plus, they have a larger outreach of autograph and memorabilia dealers, similar to what the big 3 distributors have. I do see cards getting out there easier to the masses with distribution, but the problem is I see cards getting out to the masses easier. So there's a double edged.
If I'm the middleman here, Brad, like in distributors, I'm a little bit on the edge of my seat.
Yeah,
I'm a little bit like, hey, let's look at this here. And I don't know the answer to that, but there's so many questions. There's the human element to this that we don't talk about. It's something I'll talk about on tomorrow's Hobby Quick Hits, right? There's going to be people affected. People are going to lose their jobs, unfortunately. That comes with when companies' income goes down potentially. So does staff service levels. And while maybe people don't think about that, maybe I don't know what's wrong with me. I do, and maybe I care, I guess. But people I probably had on my show from these companies will maybe they're going to be all right. They're going to land on their feet somewhere. But in that moment when you're told you can't come into the building anymore, that's tough. That's tough, and they got families at home that they have to go home and break that kind of news to too. So there's so many layers to this. The human element for us hobbyists, the card element. What are we going to get? What are we going to see? There's just it's just so many different things. What can Topps and Panini do? And like Jeremy said, the one that came out kind of right now, I'll prefix it right now, is Upper Deck. I mean, right now nothing's changed for them. A real quick shameless plug: the once a month live show that I do called Breaking Cardboard. The guest host and guest is set for September 10th, and I'm sure some of these questions will be asked of this particular person because it's Chris Carlin and Jeremy Lee is going to be joining me as guest host, and I got a feeling what a lot of the questions are going to revolve around to what he can enlighten us on. But yeah, I mean, there's just so many things at play here, and some knowns and a lot of unknowns.
Just want to say, leave it to the guy who's the back of his T-shirt and his slogan is "The hobby is the people," to think about the staff and the employees and the people who are really affected if these companies do experience layoffs and that sort of thing, and that's where my mind goes to as well. Is especially in the world of content creation, like all of us are, or just being connected in the hobby, we know a lot of these people. And when this news comes out, your mind does go to think about them and I don't mean this isn't far-fetched. Even Brody, Brody's dream was to work at Topps. That's how he became Brody the Kid. And someone like that, like Brody might. I wonder, Brody, if even you thought that, and you don't even have the job yet. So it's there's real people involved.
John, let me just say one thing. This is more like Walmart 20 years ago or Amazon now, where like FBA, fulfilled by Amazon. Fanatics is going to be having all the distribution control. And what happens when those things, it's not that people lose their jobs. I don't think anybody's going to lose their job, but they're going to be told your job has been eliminated. We have this other job for you. It's doing pretty much what you were doing before at a lot less money. Are you interested? And that's how these cold-hearted corporations work now. You can keep, it's not really your job, but if you still want to work, we've got a position for you, but it's at 2/3 pay doing the same thing because they have all the control. And there's backlash against that. But still, Fanatics, Amazon, Walmart, they're all selling somebody else's stuff. They're not making it. They're selling and distributing it and marketing it. And they're really good at that. But somebody says, oh, if you're involved with Topps, Brody, and you're helping to involve with the product and all that stuff, there's still going to be those jobs, whether they're for Topps or Topps being a subsidiary or a licensee of Fanatics. But they're probably going to pay less money than they would have.
Speaking of that, Brody, I know the Topps thing might be off the table, but you're welcome. I'll hire on here at Sports Card Nation. The pay's not great, but free coffee. Free all the coffee you can drink.
Is Fanatics known to be, and I don't know this, so I'm asking, but in reference to Dr. Beckett's comment, is Fanatics known to be a cold-hearted corporation? What's their reputation like in the different verticals that they're already in? So they're not known.
Cricket.
No, they've had meteoric growth. They're a huge success story, and so the corporate culture is not a problem when we're double-digit growth every year. It's when there's any kind of retrenchment, belt tightening. That's when you find out the character of the organization. I don't know that they've had that yet.
Yeah.
So one of the things when we talked about Donruss Leaf playoff, when they lost the baseball license, and I'm just going to say, thankfully, this got rectified real quickly. But when they were told they lost the baseball license, there were a whole bunch of layoffs on the staff immediately. Like, we're not going to need you. Fortunately, they were able to recover quickly, and about 95% of the people who got laid off were back within a month at the old salaries too. But that was something going on then, and that's what I think Jim's referring to, that there are going to be, anytime you have changes like that, there are going to be personnel issues. And, Jeremy, you brought that up too, because you do a lot in the corporate world where you see that happen on a day-to-day basis.
Well, one of the things, I don't know, I was looking up Fanatics to see how large they were, and basically 10 days ago in the Yahoo News that Fanatics is now valued at $18 billion with a B. A recent fundraising round for the sports merchandising company garnered $325 million and caused a valuation upswing. Rapper and business mogul Jay-Z and Rock Nation were a part of the company's financial development.
Yeah, just so you know, because I follow, and I have followed by a whole bunch of people on LinkedIn, I decided to look it up. And I don't use premium on LinkedIn, but they give you a couple things that in the last 6 months, Fanatics has had an 8% total headcount growth, and the median tenure of employees at Fanatics is right now 3.2 years. Just as a quick dive. I mean, there's nothing more than that. I'm not looking at Glassdoor or anything like that, but that would be a good way to check too if you're interested in how Fanatics treats their employees, to go to something like Glassdoor.
Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned that, because I was actually checking out their site yesterday, and there are a lot of jobs open at Fanatics, and again, all over the world.
Brody, I'm just saying, but no. And this is a company. If you want to go in the Wayback Machine, they started with one. If my memory serves me correctly, in Florida, one store with like a couple employees. And look, 2021. Look what we're talking about them as they embark on something. I mean, it's historical. I don't care whether you like it or not. It is historical.
I do want to say though that I think that with this acquisition, I think this is a good time for the hobby, especially folks in product development and marketing, to get some new blood in there with new ideas and new concepts, because we've kind of needed that for the last decade now. So hopefully Fanatics is maybe interested in someone with new ideas and concepts who actually has some product knowledge.
Are you pointing to Brad?
Maybe.
What?
It's
Maybe
sure
the,
more fun than whatever government job you have right now.
Well,
maybe they need 10 or 12 YouTube
personalities.
card people. Yeah.
have you guys covered
Yeah,
distribution in all this? Is distribution the thing that that could be potentially impacted the most?
Yeah,
I think so.
well, a little bit.
Well, if you think cards are overproduced or we're in a junk wax 2.0 era, I mean, this is an agreement that is to expand the category. This 10X that Rich mentioned, that I saw that as well, that's aspirational. That's really where they want it. They're tipping their hand. That's where they want to take it. Now, if the distribution is broad and thin, not if they don't blanket the world with cards, and that's tricky to you can get it out there, but not so it's everywhere, but it's available enough that it's not a commodity, but it's still collectible, but there's a lot of it out there. That's what they're trying to achieve. If they do, again, there's more collectors, so they need more cards. You need to keep that supply-demand equilibrium. But the whole goal here with Fanatics is not to print the same amount of cards they did this year. It's to increase it every year.
So they must be confident that
They're
they
bullish.
can grow
They're
they must be confident based on what they've seen for the last couple of years that they can grow the category, the collector base, because you're not going to print more cards and tank the hobby. You're going to do that if you really feel, and these are smart people, that there's potential to grow the category and go complete mainstream, which I've always wondered why the hobby wasn't mainstream. Who doesn't want to collect cards?
Well, Victor is there, Victor Schaefer, who's one of the really sharp guys, been around for 30
plus years. He was a pro set.
Original pro set guy, but I don't know that he was the adult in the room, even when he was a young, really sharp young guy. But so he's got a lot of experience. So I like the fact that he's there.
I think Victor Schaefer actually created the concept, which, by the way, began in racing when he was at Press Pass, of game-used items on cards. So, hey, I got a NASCAR reference in for you, Val and Logan. So,
thank you. Hey, we got a caller, Yo.
We got the
Yo.
How are you doing? What's your question, or what are your thoughts?
Just, we're living in some crazy times, with the Fanatics stuff. And plus, like when I saw this, like my timeline, like everyone was overreacting. Everyone was going crazy. Like, well, I feel like it's just a wait and see approach. We don't really know most of the stuff. It's just speculation.
Yeah, I think it's natural for people to, I guess, to panic, and this is only gonna happen in a few years from now.
Yeah, we just like to think the worst, and like it would be stupid for Fanatics to not get tops, to buy tops for the cheap. And
I mean, we're kind of speculating about what's going to happen in 2025 and 2026 and beyond. If we rewind the clock 5 years to 2016, did any of us even think about this, about tops being out of baseball? No. So for us to speculate, I mean, it's kind of an exercise in futility.
That's the
we don't know what's going to
thing.
happen 5 years from now.
Yeah.
And to follow up what O was saying, I think that's the shocking thing is, tops and baseball cards, it's just synonymous with each other for a long time. Mm-hmm. And the thought that might not be the case anymore, that's a scary thing. People, human nature, right? We're scared of change.
Human nature.
We're scared of change. Sometimes change is good, but we're still scared. We're still scared of it, right? We're still scared of it.
Certain people are scared of change, but most entrepreneurs are not. They see change as an opportunity, even a crisis as an opportunity. Michael Eisner is one of those guys. He's going to try to figure out how he can get the best of this change. It's now been foisted on him. He's making the calculation does my bargaining position increase over the next 4 or 5 years, or is my brand equity dissipating? And if he thinks his position is going to strengthen by 2025, he's going to wait it out. But I think his position is going to weaken. And so he's going to need to do something sooner, because every year that he's more of a lame duck and there's more uncertainty, I think they need to be huddling up right now. Same thing with Panini, of how do we get ahead of this and how do we anticipate how things are going? Because like I said, nobody likes change except for the person that wants to capitalize on it and make something out of it. And I'm sure that's the way Michael Eisner thinks. He was maybe counting his money before he had it with the SPAC, but that's
$600 million.
Long gone.
We're about to find out. We're about to find out which of these companies have really great leadership in place, and those that endure, we know we're led by creative and innovative and adaptable leaders.
And that process for Michael Eisner will begin after he picks up all the furniture in the office and has all the holes in the walls patched up. But yeah, I mean, he's obviously he's a very smart guy, and but like Jeremy just said, cream rises to the top, right? So we're gonna see who pivots here and sort of rights the ship, if you will, and settles the waters. So it's going to be interesting, to say the least. Whether you like it, you don't like it, and we're not done yet. There's more stuff coming, around the bend here. If you think this year, 2020 and 2021, besides the hobby booming, we've seen companies invest in other companies, take over, and this is not the last thing to happen. So it might be the biggest thing to happen. I'll be honest with you, but I don't think it's the last thing to happen. Obviously.
Yeah.
I clicked on the wrong one. I was going to say that most likely these, CEOs, companies, upper level, that, they have these kind of contingency plans or have thought about this. I would hope so, that, they are relying on the license and other stuff. And if they lose one or the other, how they're going to handle it with. So it's kind of like, in case of emergency, break glass. But I'm sure they have thought about this quite a bit. So now maybe looking at those plans and how to adapt them.
It's a great comment, Val, because, and the ones that are more likely to have gone through that are the ones that were public at one time and actually were audited, and their going concern status would have been assessed by their auditors as, how reliant are you on one other entity? Because if you are, there's risk, and that would have been analyzed and disclosed. So now whether that company actually takes it seriously is another question, but it's definitely come up in conversations. But for companies that are private and have been private all the time, they may not have. You can get complacent. You can take things for granted. So really, I just think that's a great comment though, Val. And
that's what makes me a little nervous with the whole Topps thing. I don't want to say nervous. It does, a little concerned is if reports are true that they found out literally 3 hours before we did, and they had no idea that Major League Baseball or the Players Association were having ongoing discussions with other suitors, mainly Fanatics. If Topps had no idea, if that is accurate reporting, that's not necessarily a good thing on Topps's behalf. But that doesn't mean you can't do something after now. But it seems like they got caught with their pants down a little bit. Assuming,
or maybe MLB and the Players Association just weren't happy with what Topps was making.
True.
And if so, that's 3 of us.
And also this conversation about all this brings up at the beginning of the week, it may have been Bleacher Report, I'm not sure, did an oral history of how Fox Network wrested control of part of the NFL rights from CBS that seemingly was going to have the rights forever. It's not perfect similarities, but there are a lot of similarities in how Fox, so to speak, pardon the pun, outfoxed CBS into getting the license. And they paid a lot more money at the time, and people thought they were throwing it away. And yet the success of Fox Network, and then we'll call it the cable subsidiaries, Fox News, Fox Business, whatever. I think Fox is starting Fox Weather too, is in no small part because of their, quote, overpayment for the NFL in 1993 or whatever it was. So we're looking at it one way. It could be the greatest deal Fanatics ever made.
Yeah, they were able to poach a lot of CBS's affiliates too in big markets. So yeah, it paid off big time. So they may have even underpaid for those TV rights back in 92, 93.
There was another fine print in the announcement that mentioned that Fanatics, in this new agreement, and the Players Association and the leagues, there would be some participation in secondary market sales.
Yeah.
That happens with NFTs because every time something changes hands. But if they're going to get a cut, the players and the leagues and Fanatics, every time a card is sold, not originally but secondarily, that would have the players and the owners of teams licking their chops.
How would that work though? Unless these cards are sold on a platform that they own. I mean, if you have a card,
isn't that what Fanatics does?
Yeah.
They create platforms.
Yeah, they create platforms. So I wouldn't be shocked.
But how would they get that caught on a non-Fanatics platform, like eBay, for example?
That's Fanatics COMC.
Yeah.
Or Starstock or something. They can acquire. They've got $18 billion to play with, guys.
Yeah, they can pretty much buy the whole sports world, sports card world.
I know we're not a big, huge fan.
Not quite, but it's interesting. Well, I want to piggyback off something Chris said too, because it's a great point. If Chris mentioned that maybe that backdoor deal, if you want to use that terminology, might be too strong, but maybe they sort of cut Topps out without really conferring with them and giving them a heads up, is because they're unhappy with Topps. So now we hear all this. Well, maybe Fanatics will buy Topps or sublease the license, if you will. If the company is, baseball or the Players Association is not happy with Topps to the point of not even negotiating with them and negotiating with someone else in non-good faith, we won't. I don't think they're going to advertise this, but maybe there's a wink deal like, we don't want you to buy Topps. We don't want Topps on cards anymore. And again, this is just speculation. I'm not saying I believe that to be true. I'm just saying we got to throw that out there in the middle of the ring too.
No, John, there's Topps the brand, and then Topps the company, the management structure, the leadership, the people making the decisions.
Sure.
I think there is some question of whether or not Major League Baseball and the Players Association had lost confidence in the leadership of Topps to manage that brand. But the brand is still strong. The brand has great value. In fact, that maybe most of the value, and in the SPAC was not just based on earnings, it was based on the strength of the Topps brand, which is taken down.
Topps did announce how their second quarter profits were through the roof 2 weeks before this, and that could have been like, hey guys, let's speed this up, and they're not making the money, we're going to make the money.
Well, the old saying, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. We've all been saying Topps has been lazy for 2 to 3 to 5 to how many years on their product development?
Decade and a half.
Since the exclusive.
On their NFTs, they're talking about the players getting secondary and third transactions. I know some people on the panel don't like it, but there's the whole NFT market. Then there's the whole European basketball market. Then there's Topps has, or Fanatics has, a way to create their own to create their own NFT platform. So there's a lot of new technology and new different things that we're about to see. That, I mean, somebody, I can't remember, I think it was Dan mentioned to me, what if you could do something like in a couple of years when the cost comes down, print your own cards at home through 3D printing. I mean, think about the card art. Think about Topps, the 70s artists being able to do, or any artist for that matter, creating their own NFT and then having the ability to print it out at home so that you're not having to go to. I mean, there's the possibilities and the reach are now, for lack of a better phrase, endless by some people that have done some pretty smart things in connecting the dots where the hobby has been reluctant to connect the dots. We, for at least for a year that I've been back, everybody's been screaming, connect the dots. Well, the dots just got connected. So it's just going to be, it's going to show difference and more creativity in my mind.
I think, Brad, you hit it right there, where now Fanatics has the technology to do these things like the NFT platform, stuff like that, where Topps was using somebody else's platform. So part of that money or whatever was going to them. So with this merger or whatever you want to call this alliance between them all, they're basically taking, some of that money off the table and putting it in their pockets for being able to acquire it. And then also move, to your point, with the technology that, Topps does what they do. They're not a technology company. They're kind of doing the cards. So this kind of helps with a step above them to be more in control of those brands.
Is it too late to send in my vote to take Topps public? Because I was waiting. And here's the proposal book. Are these worth anything now? Just for historical.
Well, technically, the SPAC still exists, and they could just acquire another company.
I want to get
this
autograph
Topps
all
anymore.
the players. Let's get this autograph. This is a collector's item now, John.
Started as a 7.
I'm not gonna throw it out.
You gotta start as a 99-cent auction, man.
I got to tap out, guys. Thank you. Have a great
Thanks,
rest
Jeremy,
of the
for
show.
stopping in.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks, the O, for calling in.
Yeah. See ya.
Bye.
And we met the me, Val, and Logan at the National. Nice, very nice young man who loves the hobby, and that's important. So
yeah, walking by and saw him, and was like, "Hey, I recognize you from the show." Yeah, it was great meeting him. And I think Logan actually got a card from him too.
I bought a card from him. Yeah,
because he had gotten a NASCAR card, and so Logan worked out a deal.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, switching topics for a very brief second. Brody the Kid was set up along with Tim Virgulio from Signature for Soldiers, and I think we all need to make sure we send our respects to Tim, who lost his mom in the last couple of weeks, and it really affected him very much. And so, Tim, I know you've been in my thoughts, and I know you've been in most of our thoughts as well. And Brody, I know what he did for you at the Nationals. So,
yeah,
with all that going on, he still made sure to take care of you too. So,
yeah, Tim is. I don't think he sat down one time at the National. He works his butt off like crazy. It doesn't stop.
If you want to know anything about Tim, just know this: every dollar goes to MMIA, 100%, and he pays a lot of his own. Transportation costs. He pays a lot of stuff on his own to raise that money to go towards MMIA. So you probably won't find a nicer, more selflessness guy around. And yes, he thoughts and condolences on the loss of his mom. It was expected, but that doesn't make a difference. It's still a tough time.
Still hurts.
He raised like $20,000 at the National with everything. He's come a long way. He's told us all $500 was his original.
That was the original goal. He wanted to raise $500,000, and I think he's at $120
I'm only laughing because that was my original goal when I started the synagogue show. It was like, I'll make you $500. Let me run a show. Well, we'll eventually have another show again. We've done quite a bit more than $500 over the years. That's helped the community here in DFW. So I understand where he's coming from on that, and it's amazing when you don't start with like pie in the sky goals, but you start with reasonable goals. Sometimes how much better you do because you're not trying to hit the home run. You're just trying to get a bunch of singles to keep the base runners moving. And Tim's done a great job of hitting singles that keep the base runners moving.
Yeah, we got comments from Rex in the chat room. He's an LCS owner. I mean, how do we think this affects existing and future LCSs? This deal. Let's assume even this goes into obviously basketball and football. How does this change how they do business on the LCS level?
Until we know what it's going to be, I think for the next couple of years, it's been pointed out, it's just going to be business as usual.
Yeah.
So everybody's going to have some time to adjust to see what the new reality would be. But based on what we heard, especially from Drew, when he commented about the conversation he had, I don't think Fanatics is going to forget, because as Rex pointed out, he gets items from Fanatics directly, that they are not going to forget the hobby stores. There's going to be some things for the hobby stores to sell, and they're going to understand that there's a hobby part of the business as well that's out there. So I think it's a concern, but I don't think it's an immediate concern, and I think that will not be a long-term issue either. There might be some bumps on the road, but it won't be as bad as hopefully anybody thinks it may be. I think it won't be that bad.
I take the opposite point. I think not only is it not bad, I think it's going to be great for the LCSs, because that's what Fanatics is all about. Is about retail distribution and exposure, and the LCS are the best billboards that our industry has. That are 8 to 5 or whatever, the Monday through Friday weekends. And so how many times have we heard the lament of somebody starts a store and how difficult it is for them to get distribution from the card companies? Yeah. Well, I think if Fanatics brings some common sense to it, say, why are we making it difficult for brick and mortar LCSs to get a reasonable amount of product?
Yeah, imagine if all the LCSs could order what they wanted.
Well, not fully, but
but you know what I'm saying. Instead of getting one box allocated, if they get a couple.
For example, we have an old regional correspondent who's had a store in Philadelphia 30 years by the name of Warren Walk. He gave up a Panini account 4 or 5 years ago because nothing was selling in basketball. Now he would like to have even the cheapest Panini products where he could sell a few boxes in the store, and he's on some list where he can't get a Panini account. Tom Salem, another longtime Beckett regional correspondent, which tells you how long ago, he's been around. He opened a store, and he can't get a Panini account either. I guarantee you both of them would have a Fanatics account, and I bet you both of them would be able to get something with their 60 years combined in the hobby, so they're lifers. And I guarantee you they'd be able to get items for their retail store. So as Jim points out, it's probably not the worst thing in the world for retail store owners. There's 2 examples right there of human beings that are hobby lifers that would love to be able to get some product.
And it also wouldn't surprise me if Fanatics starts opening up their own hobby stores.
Yeah.
In every mall, every high traffic shopping area, airport terminal, whatever.
Well, it was pointed out that they own lids.
Yeah.
So they've already
start selling cards at lids.
All they have to do is add baseball cards. That's not hard to do.
Well,
the lid stores are kind of small, though.
Yeah, but still, they're in the malls already. I mean, you're not even having to lay out more money to be there. You're there.
Right.
Yeah.
Plus, the future is this hybrid between digital and real life. So the fact that they've got a brick and mortar. It doesn't have to be huge brick and mortar. It may be, hey, we'll have this product for you tomorrow or next week. Just tell us what you want. So it's a distribution point. So they don't need a lot of retail footprint.
Yeah, the distributors are the ones that are probably shaking right now. I know we mentioned it before, but I mean, look at most of the hobby doesn't see the pricing disparaging between what the LCSs can buy from distribution or from direct versus the list prices on the big three website that we all quote as standard retail pricing or whatever you want to call it. I mean, we're talking hundreds of dollars difference between the two and in the inflated pricing. So if I'm a distributor right now, I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried because
I mean the current hobby distribution model is broken. It doesn't work for consumers.
The playing field just because
there's only what 3 or 4 big distributors, plus you throw in some of the online retailers that kind of sort of are distributors.
Mm-hmm.
There's just not enough. It's not working. So if this can blow up that model, if Fanatics can come in, that would be great for collectors.
And somebody had just said bought hobby. So there was some consolidation there, but I totally agree. I think this is great for the collector, and if whoever bought Southern Hobby and some of that other, where they were the keepers of the products, and they should be worried, and just so.
Yeah. Again, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered.
A couple other stories, guys, that happened this week. I don't know how much we want to cover and stay on, but Ho Hum, another card, $6.6 million in the Honus Wagner. And when this top story broke, I think there was one particular establishment that was ecstatic at the timing of it. Yeah, and they go by PWCC. Like if you couldn't have Disney movie script this any better for them, and eBay kicking them basically out for accusing them and associates, as the terminology was in the statement, for shill bidding. Which this is not the first time that they've been accused of doing that. Some people are pointing to that PWCC was launching their own platform anyway, and it's sour grapes on eBay's part. It's the old, oh, you're quitting? No, you're fired type of deal, right? I don't know. I heard someone, I read a crazy post that this hurts eBay more than it hurts PWCC. I don't know about that. There's a lot of eyes on eBay stuff, the most probably, arguably. So, yeah, PWCC is going to have less eyes. Sure, do people go to their website? No doubt, right? But this definitely affects them more than eBay. If you read that eBay statement, as I said on my show, it's pretty strongly worded. I got to think that was proofread I don't know how many times, right? There's got to be evidence to put out a statement like that. You have to have documented evidence. If PWCC, because if I'm PWCC and that's not true, and I categorically deny that, I'm getting my lawyers that I'm assuming I have on retainer and saying, "You see this? Let's go, because this is bull. This is bull. You know what?" And so I got, I know, innocent till proven guilty and all that stuff, but very strong indictment. Let's just put it that way. And I'd be shocked if eBay would put that out there like that without the evidence to cement it and back that up.
Do you think that something came down from maybe the FBI to eBay?
Well, let's you brought it up, Logan. I have a friend of mine who 2 cards that he bought from PWCC were confiscated as part of an FBI investigation. I'm not going to mention the cards. I'm not going to mention the person's name. He got his money back, so he's not out. He was reimbursed. His money's back. He doesn't have the cards. The FBI at last known confiscated them. Whether they still have them, I don't know.
I will say PWCC did switch lawyers at one time. They were using high-powered hobby attorney. I'll call him a hobby attorney. He's known for other things, but he represented the Gotti family too. Jeffrey Lichtman, who's a very sharp attorney and very, very good. And I've talked to Jeffrey. I've never met him in person, but I've talked to him on email and on other chats a few times. And he knows what's going on. And he's no longer PWCC's lawyer. He would have, I guarantee you, he would have made sure nothing like that would have happened. Also, now the conspiracy theorist in me wonders if eBay knows what went on with PWC. Do they know what goes on with their other accounts too? And are they willing to give, if somebody else leaves, that lovely parting gifts, as Carol Merrill used to say in the 1960s?
Yeah, what? Go ahead.
Where, hey, we know what you did. We didn't say anything because you were contributing to us, but you're going off on your own. Here's a little gift on your way out that you'll have to.
Bye, Felicia.
What?
Yeah. Or how about
bye,
this?
Felicia.
Yeah. How about this? Yes. How about this? How about this, Rich? Maybe eBay. And again, this is all plain armchair eBay and speculating. How do we know this wasn't going on? eBay caught wind of it, told PWCC, "Hey, we know you're doing this. Knock it off." Kind of a warning shot. Here's your warning. Don't cease doing that. And PWCC didn't cease doing that, or tried to be even more slick and maybe had people not directly affiliated with them. eBay caught wind again. They're still doing it, and here comes that statement and decision. Right?
To plug Jeremy again. He's got a higher up at PWCC on his show tonight, and I believe it is 9:30 Eastern time. So Jeremy's going. It will be interesting because that, as far as I know, is the first public, we'll call it, media appearance from any PWCC member since this broke. So I will be interested to hear what goes on Jeremy's show tonight.
Well, I better ask the questions quick. It's only 30 minutes. He has them. I'll be the first three. I got 3 or 4 questions I want to ask before the credits are off my screen. But it's I don't know. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, but when the first time happened prior to the national in 2019, and you saw some of these supposed and alleged emails and texts, pretty damning stuff if accurate. And here we are again. And to me, again, I'm going to keep going back to this. This is where I'm going to hang my hat on. For eBay to put that statement out there for the world to see in that terminology, pretty damning, and you better have the proof in the pudding before you release that statement. And so it's interesting, and like I said, no one was more thankful about the baseball announcement, licensing announcement, than them. I'll just say that.
Yeah, when I got back into the hobby and started doing research, one of the things that I found was that there was a caution, and there were videos where you could see suspicious activity on certain accounts, and one of the things that I just avoided it. I just avoided it altogether, and now it stinks. And the most unfortunate thing is that PWCC is now moving to their own platform starting September 1st. Is trust lost? Can you go to that website and bid with confidence?
I have seen, Brad. I'm sure you've seen it. Everyone else on this panel here, I've seen posts from people who have cards in that vault. At least they verbally or text wise saying, I'm pulling my stuff out. Like you said, I've lost confidence. I've lost trust. I even heard one guy say, I'm hearing FBI involvement. I'm getting my cards out of the vault before I can't get them out of the vault. That's not my word. That's someone else's, right? I'm getting my stuff before I don't have stuff. And so there's again another story with many layers and wrinkles to it that's in the early stages, I believe. And if there is an FBI investigation and all the smoke signals say there is, I told you about the individual person I know personally that told me that, not to mention names or what the cards actually are. Then if that's real and I know this person's not a liar, then there's something going on there. And so not good. That's not good. The FBI is not giving out Better Business Bureau awards for, great job in 2021. You win our 5-star classification. So it's not a good.
Just take this another step further down this conspiracy theorist road here. If one can do it, what's to prevent a second from doing it, or a third from doing it, or a fourth from doing it?
I guess it's a safe. I don't want to say it's a safe assumption, but maybe we can assume if one big auction player is doing it, that listen, there's regular people that do it. All right. I've been asked, I don't do it, but I've been asked, hey, my auction's ending, John, in a couple hours. Can you bid? I'm like, no, because I don't really want the card. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, sell your card. Like, I'll respectfully decline. But there's it's being done on a smaller scale too. Now there's things that there's algorithms that eBay has to supposedly can try to detect some of that. I don't think it's foolproof. I think it's still happening. They're not catching everybody. So for us to say PWCC is the only one allegedly doing this, I think we're that's a big statement. I don't believe they're the only ones doing it. But when you get caught, right, then shame on you, right? The eggs on your face, and that's how I feel about it. And this is not for, again, it's sort of, right, what does the saying go, right? Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, whatever it is, you get the gist. But this is not their first time being mentioned doing this, right? And sorry, Brad, I'm not as articulate as
No, you need to come down and read your text. So
I see you laughing.
As we approach the 90-minute mark, and A, I want to comment what a fun discussion this has been. Two, I was just, multitasking, which is something men should never do. But there's a photo of the waiting line outside the East Coast National at Hofstra today.
Oh, really?
And the waiting line is sneaking around the building.
Wow.
So with all what we're talking about, the hobby's doing just fine at basically the East Coast National, with a long line of people waiting to get in the door. So we're concerned, but we also should be celebrating. We went to the National, most of us. We know how strong it was. I'm looking at that line out the door. The East Coast National is very strong. I expect the Dallas Card Show next week to be strong. Maybe not March and May again, or November and January, but probably maybe a level below that. We're still a very strong hobby, and we need to keep looking for the positives.
With all the warts and everything that the hobby has, this is still the greatest hobby. I love it. I've been in it all my life.
And Brad's in my office, and we're going to go to a friend of ours' houses this afternoon and do some more baseball card work. And
I like that.
But we're also going to make a quick trip across the street where Kyle Robertson is having his official grand opening today.
Yeah.
Of his Move store, which is literally basically across the street from where his show is. It's not as close to his house as the other location, but sure is easier to find. And it's exciting. Look at all these stores that have opened. Look at all these lines at the card shows trying to get in. Look, when a card show is properly publicized, look at the people who are coming.
Yes, properly publicized.
Yes.
I'm doing my first show September 12th in 2 years.
Yay, Jim. There you go, John.
It's going to be like a rookie all over again. It's been 2 years since I last put the tablecloths out and threw the showcases out there. So it's going to be interesting here in Syracuse. Not a super strong market. I will tell you the lines will be shorter here, Rich, than in Hofstra and Dallas, but we'll see how it goes. And like everyone here said, right, the hobby is the greatest hobby. I don't know who said that, but they were right, Dr. Jim. And it is. And we do have to talk, but with content creation, I feel like we still have to, address those other things. It's not always roses and daisies all the time, but at the end of the day, like you said, Rich, you can get by that stuff, enjoy the hobby any way you so choose, and do it the right way, right? We can do it.
Look at Joe Light's comment about the Wisconsin Dell show, which was a huge hit at the first show. And he says it was busy yesterday, and some of the vendors weren't even there. They may have had day jobs that they had to go through on Friday, and they couldn't even get there until Saturday. So there's so many positives, and we need to occasionally remember to focus on positives.
That's right. That's right.
All right.
Isn't that right, Brody? You do you.
Yep, you do you, boo. I'll be off to the card store listening to the new Beatles album with my quarter to get my 5 packs of Topps football. It's going to be a fun day.
Good job, Brody. Okay. As I said, we're past 90 minutes. Does anybody have any final? Do we want to make one final comment before we get off the overtime and go back to
quick plug? Time? I'm gonna put on my Jeremy Lee hat. Quick plug. Tomorrow I'm releasing Hobby Quick Hits. It's normally Monday. I'm pushing it out tomorrow. It's about very much of what we talked about today with Topps and Breaking Cardboard episode number 2, September 10th. Dr. Jim was the inaugural first guest. Chris Carlin joins for episode 2, and the aforementioned Jeremy Lee will be joining me to pepper him with questions, and like we talked today, probably along the lines of similar to what we talked about on this very screen. So, and that'll be a few weeks later, so there'll probably be some new information at that point. That's it. I'll keep it short and sweet.
Yeah, and I'll be on Instagram Live today at 6 p.m. Central Time doing a mini episode of Hobby Life on Instagram.
Chris, what do you need to be on?
I have nothing to plug.
How about plugging Baseball Card PD and your other ventures?
Yeah. Baseball Card PD. That's it.
Pass. Phone a friend.
If y'all want me on your podcast, I am available. Just saying.
All right.
Brad, you're up next.
Well, every Wednesday and Friday, you can watch me do a half asleep show in the morning, just talking about stories, cards, and all that's going on. And then once a month, we go live at night. I think I need to have some Val and some NASCAR talk coming up pretty soon. Now, I need to have Chris Harris on for some. I'll have you on, Chris. We'll talk some. We'll talk
90s, late 90s, early 2000s inserts.
Dude, I'm all in. There we go. That's the next show right there.
Yeah. And Brad, after listening to you on Monday morning, after not sleeping well the night before because I got the shot and so both my shoulders were killing me, I will verify we're both half asleep in the morning when you're on the air. Jim, you're up next.
I got 2 special guests coming over this afternoon. I've got to get ready. So I've had a great time this morning. Thanks, everybody, for being here and sharing your candid thoughts.
Logan?
Well, Val and I have NASCAR radio. It usually drops on Friday. Val does all the editing, so he takes out all the crazy comments that I say. But it's a great show. We talk about the race results, and we talk about NASCAR cards, which is what we love.
Yeah, and our show dropped yesterday. We had Jason, our other host, and then we had special host Ken on from Bean's Ball Card blog, talking indie trading cards. So another underserved sport collector, different than NASCAR. So, but thanks to everybody who was on the show and in the chat. was a great show, I think, for everybody. So from all of us, or for me and all of us, thanks for watching, listening, and we'll be back next Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern. So have a good
11 Eastern.
11. Thank you. 11 Eastern.
12:30 in Newfoundland.
Yeah. Oh, real quick. Plug for Hobby Hotline here. We've moved the show over to Spreaker Prime. I know we had an issue getting the shows out. We were 5 or 6 behind. If you missed the live show, look for the audio version about 1 or 2 days after airing. So we'll get that. My promise to you, we'll get that out a lot sooner now.
All right, with that, we're going out. Roll the credits.